Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're going to jump in and take a look at part 3 of the Witch Hollow tutorial. And if you remember from last time, I told you the next time that you would see this, it would be all painted black and ready to start detailing. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. I'm out in the garage. It's a really windy day here today in Arizona, so I'm working out in the garage and trying to avoid outside. It's just too windy to do anything out there. And so you can kind of see it behind me. Before we get started into the actual painting and detailing, which you guys have seen before, it's just going to be a rehash of that on this particular piece. I do want to cover some things that I did to this piece to kind of stabilize it a little bit. Is it perfect? No. Is it ever going to be perfect with this PVC pipe? I don't think so, but I can get you close enough to show you what I've done to stabilize it to where I think it's going to be just fine for display. And then I'll tell you if I were to build it again, what I would do differently and how I would go about doing that. There may be a version 2 of this coming up. Maybe not, I don't know. We'll see how this turns out, but we're gonna go ahead and jump in and take a look at some of the modifications that I've made on it. And then we're gonna start painting it and start detailing it and start getting ready to put some of the broom straw and some of the extra details on it. So with that, let's jump in and take a look. Okay, so you can see it sitting on one of my workbenches out in the garage, and you can see that it's painted black. It looks a little bit different at the bottom. Goes all the way up. Obviously, I've got it sitting up on a table, so it's a little more difficult to see the top. I'll take it down and show you that in a minute. But you can see it's all painted. It's all covered together. All this stuff's going to be covered up with some rope type material, so you won't see much of that. And then you can kind of see up underneath how the paint looks in that area there. So no big issues there. So what did I do to help stabilize it? Well, I did a few things. One, if I zoom in close, you can see I got these eyelets from the hardware store. I got this 1/16 gauge metal wire with some little ferrules here that you could basically crimp down with some pliers, and crimped it down to some more eye rings or whatever those are called, down that screw into the bottom of the base here. Those are pretty taut. They sound almost like guitar strings, and so I've got 3 of those that kind of help to pull this thing down and secure it towards the bottom. Those are pretty tight. I don't think I could get them any tighter. If I tried, I'd be afraid it would pull something loose. So that's that. And then also, if I can move this down here, I will show you the top of this thing. Okay, so up top, I took a dowel rod from the hardware store that was about, I don't know, 48 to 50 inches tall, whatever, about the size of this. I didn't really have to cut it too much. With a diameter that would just fit inside the 3/4 inch PVC pipe. And so I ran a dowel rod, and so I took a hammer and kind of beat that down into the whole piece down here. And then took a black washer to took a drill and put a pilot hole down into that rod, that wooden dowel rod, and then ran a screw with a washer on it to kind of clamp it down into the top of this. I did the same exact thing on the bottom, and it's going to be a little more difficult. As a matter of fact, let me try to lay this down on its side up here without creating too much damage. You can see here that I did the same thing with a screw on the bottom, and then I put some feed on it to help balance it out, some kind of foam pieces to help balance it out where I thought it needed to be balanced. And so you can see that screw, that goes up through the bottom, through the base of this and into the dowel rod here. So it's supported both ways, top and bottom, with a big dowel rod that runs the length of the broom. And along with these, that certainly helps to stabilize it. Now, this is sitting up on a table with nothing in it. Is it perfect? No. Is it better? Way better. Am I afraid it's gonna fall? No. That's pretty sturdy. Now you can see the top, as you go higher, it does move a little bit, right? But not nearly like it did. And it's just kind of wobbling around on the table right now. So I think once it's weighted down and more secure, it will actually work better. So is it perfect, and what would I do different? No, it's not perfect. This was I'd never done one of these projects, so it became a little more difficult. So let me get you back to where you can see me so I can explain to you what I do different. Okay, so what would I do different if I had to do this again? Well, there's a couple of things if I had to do this over again. One, I don't know that I would build a broom. Okay, so I was a little over ambitious. I think it is a great idea. I think it's a wonderful idea. I just think I picked the wrong material to use to build it. And here, let me explain. They do sell metal piping at the hardware stores. They sell basically the same thing as PVC, except it's all metal. Now, you can't cut it, you can't splice, you can splice it together, but they sell certain lengths, and so you could make it approximate to the dimensions that you wanted. One, it would cost a lot more to do that. Those pieces are exponentially more expensive when you get into the metal versus the PVC plastic, so your cost would go up. But would it fix everything? Would it take it? Would it work? The answer is, I think, an resounding yes. It would work, because metal, once you affix it to the wooden base, you screw everything down, you tighten it, it's not going to flex, it's not going to bend, it's not going to give. The biggest problem I would have is, and I think the metal would be the way to go, and I think then getting a pool noodle to go over that metal would be very simple, because I wouldn't want just metal there. I would want something a little bit bigger than that. So I think that would be the best way to do this if I were going to do it again, is to use metal and kind of map it out and try to make all that work. I'm pretty sure you could do that, and I may research that and do that later this season as I finish this and move on to something else. If I'm incredibly bored, I may come back and redo a version 2 of this broom. Another way that I think you could attack this is with thicker PVC pipe, and I'm talking not even an inch. I don't think an inch, because I got 3/4 inch. I don't think an inch would do anything. It would stiffen it up a little bit more, probably would be about like I've done here with the fastening of everything down. I think that might work, that could work. And so you could certainly go with an inch. I wouldn't go with an inch. I would go with about 2-inch pipe, and I would run that and secure that basically the same way I've done here with 2-inch pipe. Again, your cost is going to go up because the 2-inch pipe is certainly more expensive than the 3/4 inch. You're going to need just about as much of it with the same adapters and everything else, if you can find those in a 2-inch variety. I don't think it would move at all or very little with a 2-inch type PVC pipe. The issue, though, that I would foresee, and I haven't done enough research to tell you, absolutely if this would be the case or not, but I don't know that the pool noodle then would fit down over a 2-inch piece of pipe. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, you could cut it and split it and wrap it around it. Yeah, that's great until you start hitting it with a heat gun. Then it starts to shrink and it just basically falls off of the surface. So you really need the whole integrity of the pool noodle to go down over top of whatever it is you're trying to use. They probably make a wider center area of a pool noodle. I got the really cheap stuff at the dollar store. So I need to shop around and see if I could find a pool noodle that would work and accommodate that 2-inch PVC pipe. If I could find that, then that would be the best option, in my opinion, to redo the broom without costing an arm and a leg. At least I think. It may be cheaper again to do the metal. But those are one of the 2 ways that which I would do the broom if I had to do it again. The trees that everybody else has made for Witch Hollow are relatively simple compared to this, in my opinion, because then you can get a 2-inch or a 3-inch piece of PVC pipe. Most people cover it up with the spray insulation, the foaming insulation, and then kind of mold it and carve it. You're really just covering up all the PVC pipe, and tree branches are typically way thicker than what this broom would be. So it actually resembles the tree. So a tree branch in a platform like this would be very simple to do, at least in my opinion, and it would be absolutely perfectly sturdy because you can use that bigger PVC. So that was a very long-winded way of telling you that I think it's going to work. I think we're going to be just fine. I don't think it's going to fall. I'm not scared that my houses are going to fall off of it. And two, that if I had to do it again, a couple of different ways that I would do this again if I were going to make a witch broom, which I still think is going to turn out absolutely amazing and look remarkably cool when it's all said and done. So, hey, how are we going to make it look remarkably cool? Because the black is just not working alone. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go through and start detailing with some dry brushing of brown. Now, I've got some leftover house paint that we used as a project that we were using to kind of color match something around our house. So I'm just going to take some of this stuff that's left over, and I'm going to use more of a dry brush technique. You'll see that as I start to kind of work my way down and start to paint some of this stuff in the brown. I've also got some different colors of smaller acrylic paint. I've got this shade of brown here, and then this shade of brown here. I think one is a golden brown and the other is a toffee color. And I'm gonna do some highlighting with this. Once we're done with this and this dries, then we're gonna start measuring for the broom straw and start cutting and start putting all that together, and we'll go and see how it looks when it's all done. So hey, with that, let's jump right in and start detailing this witch's broom. Okay, so I've got a fairly small size, thicker brush to do this with. It's basically will fit right down in here. And so I'm gonna take a lot of this stuff and try to, wipe it off on this and really start to dry brush. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so you can see the first coat, really it's probably a coat and a half or so of the brown, but you can still see some of the black kind of coming through. It's harder to see this on video. Once I get it in the house and some better light, I'll zoom in. You can really see some of the black kind of creeping through into the brown. It really does look very similar to an old wooden stick. And I think it's only going to get better as we highlight. So I'm going to take a much drier brush now, and I'm going to use this darker brown, the toffee brown. I say darker, it's a much lighter color than this. So I'm going to go very, very light on it. And I'm going to start at the very bottom, so if it doesn't look good, those are where the broom straw will be to kind of mask it anyway. So I'm going to start down there and see how it looks, and then kind of work my way up to the top. So let's get started with that. Okay, well you can see with the toffee color on there, it's starting to really look sort of the way that I envisioned that it would look. And so it's starting to look to me like an old piece of wood, an old stick. And again, once it's completely detailed, I think it's going to be very convincing that this is going to look like an old witch's broom. We're going to take another dry brush run at this, except this time we're going to use the third color, and this is a golden brown. It's a little bit lighter, so I'm going to lighten it up just in certain areas. So this is going to be a really, really dry brush. Again, I'll start kind of towards the bottom and see how that looks, and then we'll go from there. But Okay, so that's the third coat of a third shade of lighter brown that has gone onto this. And I think it looks just the way that I want it to look. I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. I could probably add some other colors, maybe some greens or, light touches of that. But for now, I may detail some more once everything is on it and see how it looks. But for now, I'm going to leave this here to dry and look a little bit more. Hopefully it'll look better once it's dry. Maybe I'll see areas that I've missed or something that I need to readjust. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it. So let me pull the camera off the tripod and give you a closer look so you can see a little bit more detail. Okay, so hopefully you can see the detail here and it just kind of pops. To me, that looks a lot like a tree. The paint, I think, did it really good justice there with the melting of the styrofoam. You've got some of the black that still shows through. You get up into areas like this, and some of this stuff here is going to be covered. You'll never see that. But I mean, that to me looks pretty close to wood, like an old stick. And you saw how I did that with the 3 coats on there. So kind of goes like that all the way up. So not bad. I think it looks pretty good. And I'm gonna call this one done. As far as this paint is concerned right now, we will come back and start addressing the broom straw at the bottom. Okay, so I've moved it back into the house. It's dry, and so it's not gonna damage. Plus, it's got those feet on the bottom so it can sit on the countertop and not hurt anything. And so now we're gonna try to figure out how we're going to attach the broom straw to make this actually look like an old broom. And so I found this stuff here. I'm gonna take it out of the package here. I found this stuff here at, I believe it was Hobby Lobby. It was at least in a Hobby Lobby bag. So it was one of the craft stores. But it looks like this, and I thought immediately, well, this is gonna be the end of the broom. And so we've got the thicker part up here, and then obviously it falls down into the thinner stuff down here. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this yet. Here's what I do know. It is going to be a mess when that happens. So I'm just gonna just let you know right now, it probably should be done. Maybe we may move back out to the garage to do that. And then I've been thinking, how am I going to attach this? And so I've got several ideas. Again, I've never done this, so I'm just kind of spitballing as we go. The first thing, this is more of a decorative rope. And so this is going to be placed around it at the top to kind of give it that old look. And then we'll texture this up and paint it and make it look good when we actually go through and detail the rest of this. So that's just more for decoration and to hide things than it really is to secure anything, if that makes sense. We've got some of this little twine that I've got laying around, and we can, again, wrap this around certain areas up in different, parts of this to make it look good, maybe on these PVC pipes with some hot glue or Elmer's glue, and just wrap it around and let it dry. And then the way I think I might attach it, there's 2 different methods, at least, of what I'm thinking. One is I've got a little bit of this tape left, and this is Gorilla Glue tape. It's very strong, it's very sticky, and so I may just sort of wrap this really tight. I mean, hold it and wrap it incredibly tight around there and try to secure it that way. And then we would cover it and hide it with this rope after that was done. Or I've also got this wire, this bendable wire. This is, I don't know, we've had this, I don't know what gauge of wire this is, but I've got a whole spool of it out in the garage for a different project at some point. And it's bendable, but it's also very strong, and I can basically loop it around on itself and then, twist tie it essentially to cinch it down and compress that around the top of this neck, and that ideally will hide all of these wires down here. And then again, we can either put tape around that, maybe do that, and then hide everything with this decorative rope after that's all said and done. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing to secure this thing, to secure the straw onto the broom. So how are we going to do this? Well, first I think I'm going to measure what I need, and then go out in the garage, and it's going to be a lot easier, I think, to cut it out there. And then we'll come in and start placing this on there and see how it looks. Your guess is as good as mine on how this turns out. So with that, let's start measuring this and figure out how much we need. Okay, so to measure, this is not a scientific method at all. I'm just basically going to take it, brought it up to the edge of the countertop here. I want it to come up to about there. So, I mean, around that, it's going to be difficult to get around this, but we'll figure that out. But then I want it to be able to spread out, which means it needs to be a little bit longer than normal. So if I grab it, maybe right about here, then that's where I think I'm going to cut. So I'll have all this at the bottom off. And so let me go make the cut right about here, and we'll see how that looks when I get back. Okay, well, you see the stay in the house was short-lived because this is going to make a mess. And so I'd rather make a mess in the garage and then use the blower and blow it out than to make a mess in the house and have to deal with that. I don't want to clean that. And so basically what I've done is I cut this in half. So it's a little bit too long, so it may require some more trimming. It may not. We'll get to that point when we get to that point. Plus, I think I can just bend this and shove it around and maybe work it like that. I may take a glue water mixture after this is all said and done and completely coat this thing so it kind of hardens and thickens and stiffens up. Don't know yet, but that's certainly a possibility. So how am I going to do this? I still don't know. I've got it cut, and I use some Fisker garden shears to kind of systematically just go through and, you know, a little bit at a time, cut this off. It looks pretty good. Not too bad. Once I untie this, that's where the worry is going to come in because they're going to go everywhere. So I've got to be able to figure out how to place these around here. And so I'm just going to let the camera roll, and I'm going to do this, and it's either going to turn out great or it's not, and you're going to get to see it. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to untie. Oh, great idea. It's got rubber bands around it. How about that? That's not a bad idea either. Let's see if I can save these. Although I don't know how I'm going to get a rubber band around it. That's not going to work for me, I don't think. Good idea, though. Okay, just get a little bit on, tighten it down, and then keep working.
Okay, I think that's about as good as that's going to get for now. I am going to put some tape, I think, across it just to try to help it stay a little bit stronger. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And then I'm going to trim up the bottom to try to get it back up onto the board. Try to cut down on some mess. So I may have to, put some more pieces in here somehow. I'm not real sure on that yet. Either way, I think it's looking pretty good. So let me tape it. Hopefully I got enough to go around at least once. Not too bad. I'm okay with that. Man, I'm glad I didn't do that in the house. That's a mess. Okay, so I'm starting to put the rope on. I haven't hot glued this at all. Actually, I just put it on and tied it. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It's pretty tight. So I may try to do the same with the remaining rope that I have. I don't have much left, so I got to make sure that I'm pretty judicious with it to make sure that it covers this tape for sure. So I think I'm just going to start kind of down in here and start wrapping this up. I don't think it's going to come all the way up, although I could hot glue pieces on to make it look like it does. So not real sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I just want to kind of let you see how it's starting to look. If you look at the broom kind of head on, that's how it's starting to kind of take shape. And I probably still need to, trim some of this stuff up here a little bit and take care of some of the loose pieces. But all in all, it's starting to look pretty good. So let me start this. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I've got it back in the house. I've got most of the stuff knocked out. It still needs to be weathered. I think I may take some white glue and just kind of smear some white glue with a paintbrush on that to harden that up to where it stays in place. And I think I'm going to wrap this up. A couple of reasons. One, I want to show you the final product so far. It's not done. I've run out of small twine. I don't have any more. I thought I had a whole thing of it, but I don't. So I need to get some more twine because I still need to put some spots to kind of cover some of these bigger gaps and it looks like it reinforces some of these handles kind of branching out off of the broomstick. If that makes sense, at least in my mind, I can kind of see what I'm trying to accomplish there. So I need more twine to do that. I may do the same thing, down in this area here, just to make it look a little more authentic. I've got some other small sticks and things that I may wrap around some of this stuff to make it look a little bit different. And so there's still plenty of detailing to do on this particular broom. But for part 3 of painting it and getting the straw at the bottom, I'm going to call that one done. So with that, let me jump off the tripod and give you a look and see what you think. All right, so we'll start at the bottom up, and you can kind of see how I trimmed the straw to kind of stay back onto the base, and that'll prevent a lot of the shedding of this material as it scrapes along things and so on. So I just wanted to keep it kind of all on there. And then as you can see, as we come up, You can see how it's sort of tied up in there, sort of sloppily, but I like that, as it's not a bad, way to do that. You'll see that continue throughout certain other areas, probably again up here on the edges, and carrying through to the top. And you can see how the wood texture really pops in this light. So you can kind of see how that looks. And so as we go up, may do a little more trimming there, but you can kind of see how this is starting to come together. And if I can give you a wider angle here, it's a pretty tall broom. So that's about as much as you can get right there, but it looks pretty good. It's not too bad. And now that everything is on there and it's sitting level, it's not nearly as wobbly as it was. So you can kind of see the way that this, kind of thickened up and hardened up there with the dowel rod down the middle and all the tension wires along the bottom. So no worries now with putting something on this. I am content that it will be fine. And so there you have it. That's a closer look at the broom. Well, hopefully that gives you a closer look at the way the broom is starting to take shape. I'm pretty pleased with it, to be honest with you. I think once we get all the other twine on and all the other additions that's going to make this actually look better, then I think it's going to look just fine. And we've got some weathering to do down here on this new material to make it look a little more old and worn. And so I think once we're done with that, we'll continue that into the next video. So part 4 will focus on more detailing of the broom. But hey, if you've liked this video, make sure you click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. It certainly helps the channel out. It helps me out. And I do appreciate it. And thanks for those that are doing the super thanks. I've had a couple of those lately. And if you don't know what a super thanks is, it's just a way to say thank you. It's a small dollar amount. It should be on your screen there. You don't have to do that, but I certainly do appreciate it. Every nickel that I make doing that, I'm putting into a fund to continue to do projects like this and to get houses to review and things like that. So that's what that money's going for. If you want to do that, that would be great. If you don't, that's fine too. Just continue to watch the channel and we'll be good. So, hey, with that, until next time, take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you again real soon.